All right, guys, I'm really excited about the topic for today's video because we're going to talk about one of my favorite diagrams and how you can use it to really understand how to change your life. Now, it sounds like a huge and broad statement, but we're going to dive in. And for a lot of people I've shared this with, this has been a pretty eye-opening experience to really understand how this diagram works. So let's first draw it here, and we're just going to do a small version of it. And a very crooked square as usual, because you guys know how great my handwriting is. So one of the things that I've learned about life over the past several years is that we have no control over certain things, right? You can't control everything about your life. There are things that can happen around you that have nothing to do with your performance, right? You can control whether you swerve out in front of somebody and get into a wreck, but you can't really control whether somebody turns out in front of you and cuts you off, right? So it's just a good example of the fact that we can't control everything. And this statistic I'm about to share with you is not an actual statistic, right? It's more of just a conceptual way of thinking about this. But the thing that I think a lot of people forget is that we have control. We don't have control over everything, right? But we do have control over a lot, and I would even venture to say the majority. So for now, let's look at it is maybe like an 80-20 split, right? 20% of everything that happens in your life, you don't have control over it at all. Like it's things that can happen to you, ways that other people act towards you. Just even the factors like where you were born and how you were raised and things like that that are just outside of your control, right? The 80% is things you can control. It's the fact that you wake up every day and you do have the ability to make your own decisions now. You do have the ability to surround yourself with people who can influence you. You do have the ability to read certain things, to try certain things, to experiment. You have control over a lot. So one of the things when we really start thinking about how to change our lives, if there's somewhere we're at, let's say it's with our career, maybe it's we're not doing something fulfilling, maybe it's with something like the amount of money we make, maybe it's with our relationships or our weight or whatever, right? Let's say there's something you want to change. Well, there's this phenomenon, if you will, that a lot of us, pretty much all of us have noticed happens, and we refer to it as something like when it rains, it pours, right? Have you ever thought about why it pours when it rains? Like, why is that true? But we all know that it happens, right? We can all feel it. It seems like it always happens. Well, the more businessy word for that is momentum. And there's actually a diagram, like I shared with you a second ago, that I'm going to draw up on this board that will show you a little bit of how momentum works. Again, 80-20, right? 80% of the time it tends to work this way. And it's something that is going to show you how that you can control your 80%. If you want to change something about the way that your life is right now, you've got that 80%, and that's where you want to start. You never can control the entire picture, again, but you can control that 80% part of it that you can control. So even if there are elements that are really, really hard to deal with, you got to focus on the part that you can control and start there. So the most valuable part of this diagram that I'm going to share with you is that it shows you which parts of a process you can control. So here's what I mean. So in this box, hopefully you can see this, but you've got thoughts. Okay, so this is pretty self-explanatory, right? The thoughts that you allow to float around in your head, that you dwell on or whatever. In the second box is beliefs. And that really, beliefs come from your thoughts, right? The things you dwell on over and over and over, the ways that you in your mind interpret the things that happen around you, they become your beliefs over time. So our thoughts shape our beliefs. The next thing is actions. So your thoughts shape your beliefs, but your beliefs, what you've come to believe about the world and what you've come to believe are the consequences and the rewards of your actions and things like that, and the way the world works and the way people work. Your beliefs about your life and the way the world works and everything else shape your actions. That's where motivation comes from, is your beliefs, right? If you truly believed that you were just one step away from making $1 million, you'd be very, very, very motivated to go that one last step, right? The problem isn't that we're not motivated. The problem is that we don't believe that that one more step is going to be worth it. That's where motivation comes from. So beliefs motivate you to take action. And your actions, you can probably guess what goes in this one, is your results. So your thoughts shape your beliefs. which shape your actions. And obviously, when you take action, sometimes they don't always work out as planned, but they shape your results one way or another for good or bad or whatever, right? So your results come from what you do, and what you do comes from what you believe, and what you believe comes from what you think. So here's where it gets really interesting. These aren't just 4 quadrants. It actually goes in an order like you saw a minute ago, and it doesn't really stop with results either. So what really happens is it goes like this. And it goes in a constant circle. So not only do your thoughts turn into your beliefs, turn into your actions, turn into your results, but your results shape your thoughts, right? So everybody's experienced this, right? You fall flat on your face, it kind of makes you start thinking things like, oh my gosh, I'm really not that good at this, or man, I wonder if I'm even cut out for this at all, or maybe I'm not as good at other people, maybe I'm weird, maybe I'm awkward. And we start forming thoughts based on the results that we had, which then shape our beliefs, which then shape our actions, which then shape our results. So if I have bad results and I start thinking, man, I'm really bad at this, and that becomes my belief that I'm really bad at this, then I'm probably not going to take as much action the next time around. I'm probably not going to try as hard or even try at all, which makes me even more likely to get the results that I want. And when I really don't get the results that I want, I really fail, I really fall flat, then that shapes my thoughts even more about myself in a negative light. So you can see how this negative momentum happens that can make you feel like you are down in the dumps before you know it. It's just this downward spiral, right? Well, the good news is it works the opposite way as well. If you think positive thoughts, if you're encouraging yourself, if you're visualizing and you're imagining what you actually want, and you're imagining that you're thinking about things that make you confident, right? Then that's going to turn into beliefs that are really going to serve you and really going to motivate you, which means you're going to probably be more likely to take more action and more right action, which is probably likely to give you better results, which will result in you thinking things like, man, I'm actually probably kind of good at this. Or, okay, this is working out. This is sweet. I'm seeing results. Like, now, yeah, let's go. So you're thinking those thoughts, which is giving you a belief of, man, this is kind of cool. When I take this action, I'm going to get this result, which gives you motivation to take action. You get even better results. You think even better thoughts. And now you're all of a sudden on top of the moon, right? Because you've been experiencing this momentum the whole time. Now, here's where it gets useful that you can start applying it. And this is actually something that's really, really, really valuable to know about this diagram. There are only 2 boxes in this diagram that you can control at all. You know what they are? They are thoughts and actions. And here's why. You can't really control your beliefs, per se, because they're a byproduct of your thoughts. What you think about the most and how you interpret things around you is what forms your belief. You can't just go in there and change your beliefs if your thoughts don't agree with it, right? You also can't just change your results magically. You're not a genie and you don't have one, right? So you can't just go change your results overnight. Your results are a byproduct of other things. It starts mainly with your thoughts. And frankly, that's the easiest one, right? And because if you start with your thoughts, it's easy to start thinking different things right now, right? You can surround yourself with different people, end up in different conversations, you can read different books, you can watch different TV, you can refuse to allow yourself to think thoughts that are negative, that don't serve you or whatever. And that has an automatic chain reaction, very small sometimes, but an automatic chain reaction that over time will benefit you. So you can't really control results or beliefs, but you can control thoughts. You can also control actions, because while my thoughts do shape my beliefs, which shape my actions, I can take actions that disagree with what I believe, right? I can fully believe that it's wrong to do a certain thing, but I can go do it anyway because I want to. I can fully believe that it's right to go do a certain thing, but I can not do it because just not feeling like it, right? So we can do or not do things that don't line up with our beliefs and our thoughts. So if you want to change something about your life, that basically means that you need to change your thoughts or your actions. Those are the only things you can. You can hijack your actions or you can hijack your thoughts, but unless you do one of those things, your beliefs and ultimately your results will never change. So start with the things you can control, realize you can't control everything, but also understand why when it rains, it pours through this diagram, and know how you can create momentum that goes the right direction. Hijack the process if there's something you don't like. Recognize why the process is working if there's something you do like. And protect any thoughts that could endanger that from getting in the way, or any actions that could endanger it from getting in the way. So hopefully you've enjoyed this and gotten some insight from it. I know it's one of my favorite things to talk about because I found it extremely useful in my own life. So I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. See how you can apply this. Maybe list one thing in the section below that you're going to try this out on. And I'd love to hear what you're working on so I can cheer you on and work on it with you. So talk to you soon.